Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Chakra Way Meditation Podcast. I'm Roseanne, and I have another lovely guest. Now, those of you who have been paying attention will know, maybe, that I have been a guest on this guest's podcast. So today, I have the gorgeous Catherine Llewelyn with me, and Catherine's podcast is called Truth and Transcendence, and it's a really lovely podcast. I love being on it, and which is why I have invited Catherine to be a guest on mine really just so that we can hang out for another hour because she's based in Wales. And so, yeah, it's just lovely to have you here, Catherine. So, let me tell you a little bit about what Catherine does. Catherine essentially is a coach. So, she helps conscious and spirit-led leaders and practitioners step deeper into their calling and bring it more to life, which is a definition that Catherine gave me. And I love that because it clearly states exactly what you do. So, welcome, Catherine. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. As you said, the last time we hung out together, it was so much fun, but also so full of insight and meaning.
Mm.
The stuff you were sharing with me, and I
Yeah.
reflected on it a lot. And I got a lot of positive feedback from that episode.
Oh, good.
People saying they loved that episode about the chakras. The chakra woman, we loved her. So
Yay. Oh, that's lovely. Yeah, because I remember just like you've set me off and I just talked for it was really good fun. I loved
yeah, it was
it.
great. Good.
But at the end of that, I was like, well, this has been a lovely conversation. Catherine's got great energy, but I need to know more about what you do. So now it's your turn to spill forth all of your gorgeous wisdom. Because I was reading on your website, like your journey has been amazing. And one of the things that really struck me was the bit about your dad and a bit about your upbringing. Tell me a little bit about that because it just sounded so beautiful,
Yes, well, it was beautiful and completely mad.
chaotic. Yeah.
You or some of the listeners may have seen a movie called Running with Scissors. Have you seen that movie?
Oh, I'm not sure I have, but I know the one you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's this whole thing as a child, do not run with scissors.
Yes.
Dangerous.
Yeah.
In my family, you were encouraged to run with scissors, metaphorically, which meant sometimes you ended up horribly wounded, you know,
Yes.
but other times you ended up having had a magical adventure. So one of the anecdotal memories of my father deciding that it'd be a really good idea at night, one night, to take the children and plunge into the forest that was near the village with us and, in quotes, get us all lost.
Oh,
Right.
wow.
He was still with us.
Yeah.
And the game was that we, the children, I don't know how old we are, were supposed to find our way back. He
Oh,
was there, but he wasn't going to
yeah.
guide us.
Yeah.
So we were completely safe. But I remember this feeling of thinking, this is completely mad. A lot of parents would think this was completely dangerous and should be illegal. In fact, these days it probably would be illegal. But it was so much fun.
Yes,
That
that is.
sort of, it's really dark. If I go too far that way, I'm going to spear myself on a tree or something.
Yeah.
Um, and years later, I realized we were only a few hundred yards from home. But as a young child, those
Yeah.
sorts of experiences were very, very formative.
Very. Yeah. I mean that kind of experience, but that kind of freedom and that being urged to put yourself out of your comfort zone, to explore that it's okay to be slightly um, wild and experimental is not something that parents do very often. How do
I
you think?
think I feel like nowadays there are so many things that are illegal to do, even with your own children, that you're
Mm,
not allowed to do it, um, which I think is a shame. I mean, nothing terrible ever happened to us. He actually kept a very good eye on us. How he managed to cope with four unruly children, I do not know,
mm,
because he was widowed
right.
when I was about 10. So he coped, and somehow we've all come out of it just who we are, really. I
I
mean,
hear you.
the down, sorry, the down, I'll just say the downside of it is that it was quite isolating from the surrounding culture and society
Mm, mm,
because other people felt, by implication, criticized by us for being too normal, too boring, too predictable. And in our own minds, we were a little bit superior about that, which actually I now don't condone, really. But
Mm.
at the time, that was kind of the flip side of that coin. So it's a really delicate thing, this, about
Mm.
being totally freely who I am and respectful and compassionate and appreciative to everybody else.
Mm. Mm. But the other part of it that struck me was in your bio, and it says that, he fully believed and taught you that the body could heal itself, and this very organic, which I'm imagining this was kind of in the 70s, late 60s, something around then, when uh, it wasn't a common, that was, yes, it was a kind of an out there viewpoint to hold, but it was something that made complete sense, that landed as an absolute truth within you, even as a child.
Totally. Well, we couldn't really avoid it. I mean, I was born in the mid 50s.
Mm.
So, and he became a practitioner late 50s. And he would come into the house when it was time for a meal and throw these wads of cash on the table and say, money for old rope. And what he meant was he was telling people things and showing people things that to him were
Wow.
so obvious that they should have been able to work out for themselves. And it was curing them. And often many people came to him in complete desperation, not
Mm.
because they went, oh, where do I find the naturopath and osteopath in the late 50s?
Yeah.
That would be cool. No, they were desperate because they'd been written off by the medical establishment, and it was a last straw. And I could see some of them coming in and waiting in the waiting room, and you could see the look on their face was, okay, I'm really hitting rock bottom now. I'm having to come and see this guy.
Yeah.
So, and then for him to do something with them that was so simple. And these people were just different. You see them coming out, just different.
So what was
And
it? What was it? What was his practice? What was he doing?
he was a naturopath and osteopath,
Right.
formerly trained at the British College of Naturopathy and Osteopathy in
Yeah.
London. But he was also constantly studying other alternative things.
Yeah.
Like at one point he did a talk in the village hall about the chakra system
I see.
in the 60s.
Love that.
So
Oh,
he
the
was studying
WM.
and exploring all sorts of things.
Yeah.
And my brother told me this story the other day, that he was lying in bed and our father came in and said, are you still awake? Yes, I can't go to sleep. Why not? My thoughts are going round and round and round and round. I don't know, 6. And
Yeah.
my father licked his thumb, pressed his wet thumb on my brother's forehead, round about the third eye probably, and said, think about that, and left the room. Now, that is a very enlightened thing to do. And that's not pure naturopathy and osteopathy. That is, I don't know where that came from. He was a very, very inquiring guy, read a lot of philosophy,
Yeah.
constantly learning and dropping this stuff in to us as children.
Yeah. And it's insanely um I don't know. It's so wonderful that you had this stuff, ingrained in you. Like so many of us were brought up in, so-called normal like way and conforming. And then we kind of hit our, 20s, 30s, 40s, even 50s and go, hang on a minute, there's something else, there's something deeper. And then there's this kind of whole deprogramming that we have to do from the values and the beliefs that we've held to go, actually, maybe there's a different way of thinking about the world and life and ourselves and so on. But you already had that. And I'm sorry to go down this rabbit hole, but I'm fascinated. Like his parents must have been something special as well, your grandparents, or were they
Actually, well,
not?
they may have been special as
Yeah.
spirits,
Yes.
but he actually left the family path
Ah,
because
okay.
they were very, very what I call indigo blue collar, about
Right.
beyond as blue collar as you could get, working in
Okay.
on the docks in Scotland. It was like hard physical,
Hard.
heavy work
Yeah.
they were doing. He was supposed to stay and do the same work.
Yeah.
He
Okay.
rebelled, went, got managed. There was no money, grew up in a house with 2 bedrooms, one for the parents, one for the 7 children,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. And he rebelled and managed to get a full scholarship, go and train as a civil engineer,
Oh, wow.
which meant that he was then traveling the world during the war, building, places to land aircraft and, bridges and doing all sorts of stuff for the war
Amazing.
effort
Yeah,
during, I
yeah.
don't, which war would that been? The Second World
Second.
War.
Yeah,
Um, and completely away from family culture.
yeah.
And my
Gosh.
mother as well rebelled from her family culture, which was the opposite end of the scale, which was aristocracy.
Ah,
And
right.
she went, no, I'm going to art college in Chelsea,
Okay.
which was not what one did, darling. That's not what you did.
Yeah.
And I actually found a photograph the other day of her in her 20s in her flat in London with other people. They were called the Chelsea Set,
Yes.
the group she was in. And in 1950, early 50s.
Yeah.
And at the time, these people were considered completely dissident, out there, non-conformist. And they're all, neat haircut, neat clothes,
Yeah.
like in those days. But
Looking
I
like
thought,
something out of a
that,
Dior photograph, no doubt. Looking super elegant, but also being slightly subversive. And just like that 1% of subversiveness at that age, and that age was just like, oh,
yeah,
they've lost themselves. Yeah.
that's right. And they met in London. So they
Right.
both sort of rebelled
Yeah.
and then met in the middle,
How extraordinary.
which was
Wow.
very challenging for them, very challenging
Yeah.
for their families, but then contributed to the fact that when we came through, we were very individual and um, didn't fit anywhere, but
Yeah.
fitted with
But
who we are, kind of thing.
yeah. 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 How extraordinary. Because this sort of beginning of your life, is definitely being sort of echoed out now, towards the more mature end of your life. And in between, you clearly, went into and did like proper, had a proper job. You worked for big companies and you did
Yeah.
corporate stuff and you were, you put on your heels and you went and did the do with the. So talk me through your evolution because where you've got to now as helping people, being a coach and this very conscious, consciousness and developing people's consciousness is basically your MO, isn't it? That is your kind of thing.
Yeah.
So how did you come to, what was the circuitous route to get you to where you are now with this work?
But it's very interesting because I was thinking this morning, because people talk about the 3 pillars to something.
Yeah.
I was thinking, the 3 pillars around the calling to me is what is it that, what is the lesson I'm supposed to be learning?
Hmm.
What is the gift I'm supposed to be giving? And what is it that the world wants or needs from me or is ready
Mm.
for? And so I think that third one has changed significantly through my life.
Yeah.
So early on, in my mid-20s, I attended an enlightenment intensive weekend called Exegesis that you may have heard of.
Hmm.
It's a bit like EST or Landmark Forum kind of thing.
Right. Yeah.
Um, highly transformative and set me on a whole new tack. The idea of these spiritual values that we had, these conscious values, could you actually bring them into the workplace?
Mm.
Could you do that? Because at the time, the workplace was in many ways considered inhuman, non-spiritual.
Yeah.
You leave your soul
At the
with your
door.
coat at the door,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
So we started a business which I was actually involved with for 16 years, and we started off doing marketing work for clients. And as time went on, they were bringing us in to work with their people because once we'd trained their people they couldn't manage them anymore because they were unpredictable, individualistic, creative. So we then had to train the team leaders and the supervisors all the way up to the board.
Right.
And I kind of hip hopped back and forth. I found myself at the age of 25 doing somatic voice training
Wow.
with our people who were on the phones making it up as I went along because I could tell in someone's body where the voice was blocked and
Yeah.
what had to be done to free it up. Now, a
Yeah.
lot of that I probably wouldn't have known if it wasn't my father who gave me my first massage lesson at the age of 9.
Wow.
So that somatic spiritual stuff is coming in there. And then I was doing various internally focused roles and various client facing roles, um, ending up with a massive organizational change for our business, after which I really had to leave because
Mm.
people had been made redundant, people had been, it's taken off post book,
Yeah.
etc. After you do that, you either have to become MD or leave.
Right.
And I didn't want to become MD, and no one else wanted me to become MD because I'm
So,
not a yes
yeah.
person.
Yeah.
So I then left and went independent at 1996. So I was 40 at that point. And at the same time, I did the humanistic psychology master's degree with Surrey University,
Wonderful.
which was arranged and sponsored by our company for a group of our people. So it was all
Right.
our people,
Oh,
all
cool.
exegesis background, all with all these seminars we've been doing for years on everything you could think of in terms of consciousness and awareness and interpersonal skills and this, that, and the other. So the people from Surrey found us a very interesting group to work with.
Yeah, I bet.
Now, that group in Surrey had been set up by a chap called John Heron, who, in my opinion, is the most important father of humanistic psychology, who was friends with my boss who had started exegesis, and they'd met at Esalen in the 70s,
Right.
along with
Okay.
Fritz Perls and all those other people. So that it was all coming full circle. I ended up on this
Mm.
master's
Very connected.
and discovered that actually, without knowing it, I'd been applying humanistic psychology for about 16 years already.
So it's amazing, isn't it? You go and learn something, and you're like, ah, this is why am I not learning anything? Am I not getting this? Because actually I know it all. I can see that.
Well, there was
Or use like it's so
actually
familiar.
it was a lot more affirming than that actually because uh, my style was highly facilitative and
Yeah.
really trusting of the client and believing in the client's path. And I
Mm.
got a lot of criticism for that from people who thought you had to teach people stuff, train them to change how they did it, etc.
Yeah.
Um, I never believed that. I just didn't believe it. And I got a lot of criticism for that in the organization. They said I was too laissez-faire, lazy, not prepared to engage. Do you know that? Do you know what I mean? Not prepared to confront the other, blah, blah, blah. Why are your clients not crying by now? You know, that it was, it was there was a harsh emphasis on authenticity in those days.
Yeah.
I'm talking about a negative aspect of something that was also very, very positive.
Yeah.
Um, but I remember feeling, no, that's not my part. When I met these people and was doing this master, I thought, oh my God, what I'm doing is actually a thing. It is actually a thing, which is very affirming. It
Mm.
helped me understand why a lot of what I was doing was working. It gave me new techniques that just made perfect sense. So I would say it had a very, very deepening effect on my practice,
Mm.
more readily for me than, let's say, people who were coming onto that who had a background in sales, let's say, and never done
Yeah.
any.
Yeah.
For them, it was a much more difficult experience. For me, it was a very, very deepening, beautiful experience.
Mm. Mm.
So that I used my dissertation to launch myself in my own practice after that,
Right.
and then started working with corporate clients, but doing basically it was transpersonal psychology, humanistic psychology with senior execs who were saying, right, we're making an organizational change. We've got HR sorted, we've got IT sorted, we've got product development sorted, we've got process management sorted. But what about the people? What about the goodwill? What about
Mm.
the heart? What
Mm.
about, what do we do about that? And I would say, great, well, first you start with yourself,
Hmm.
and then that ripples out to everybody else. And they said, how does that work? And I'd say, great, do this 2-month piece with me where we assess everything. I taught them a chakra-based organizational change model, which
Oh,
one of
wow.
my tutors had developed. We kind of co-built it together. He said, Catherine, you go out and try this out with organizations. Don't ever ask me to go into an organization. I hate that, can't do it. I'll
Yeah.
do the professor stuff and the articles. So
Yeah.
we use this, it's called the 7 energy levels model, to diagnose organizations, identify where the shift is most important, like one does with chakras in the body.
Yeah.
You can
Yeah.
as you saw yourself are an
Yeah.
expert in, you can identify, right, the heart chakra really needs attention.
Yeah.
So you don't necessarily try and address all the chakras at once. You address the level, and that then dictates what style of intervention you're going to bring and what
Mm.
style of leadership and also what style of monitoring and tracking you want for that. I mean, phenomenal model. It was just most incredible. And I was teaching it to these people,
Yeah.
and it was very effective.
Are you still, I mean, you must still be, I mean, I feel like everything that we learn along the way then contributes to the work that we do in today. Everything's a building block, but is anybody doing that work still with corporations? Because I know now you kind of work with individuals and with coaches and you've left the kind of corporate big companies behind. But is
Yeah,
anybody still doing that? Because we need it.
I know. Well, the thing I said about what the world is ready for and how that changes.
Yes.
When I started working with organizations, when I was still with the group I was with, at that time, the idea that if you make an internal shift, that will then shift your organization was an idea that nobody believed.
No, no.
Nobody
But
believed.
because they need to see kind of they need a blooming spreadsheet to prove it to them, don't they?
Exactly.
Or
You need an uplift on the bottom line
yeah,
to demonstrate it.
yeah.
So that period of time, I've now understood that that period of time working with the corporates was not only me honing my skills, working with a lot of lovely, lovely people, helping
Mm,
a lot of people, etc., but also it was delivering that proof. So that
right.
is
Yeah.
now proven. Everybody knows that now.
Yeah.
There are thousands, if not millions, of humanistic practitioners out there delivering amazing programs based on that. So
Mm,
the world has changed, not just because of me, but because of all of the other people, all of the very, very courageous leaders who
mm,
said, who pulled a chunk out of their budget. What's that for? Why? What do you mean that's for Catherine Day? What is that? I know you're not having an affair. What on earth?
yeah.
I don't understand it fully myself. I'll tell you about it when I do.
Yeah.
You know, these are brave people who are doing this.
Mm, putting their
And
trust.
but now everybody knows that works.
Yes.
So I don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah.
There are lots of people younger than me, more prepared to drive up and down the motorway than I am, etc., who find it exciting to stay in hotels all over the country, which I no longer do. And they're doing that work. And
Yeah.
there are organizations where they've got their own teams doing it now.
Mm,
So
yeah.
significant shifts happened. So I don't have to do that anymore.
Mm,
But now what we've got is very, very evolved like leaders and practitioners who are doing amazing work. But what about their path? What about
yeah.
their growth? What about their nourishment?
Hmm.
So that's why I've now been, if you like, maneuvered by the universe into, right,
Yeah.
Catherine, you're not doing that now. Now you're doing this.
Yeah. So basically, you're supporting people, I suppose, like me, or people who work in the sort of energy field or the spiritual world, who are trying to make small changes where they can, or big changes where they can, and you're supporting them on their path. And I really appreciate that because I personally, I feel like I tootle along doing my own thing, and I'm very much my own teacher. My students are very, and my clients are very much my teachers. But every so often, I just need to be held by not held accountable, but held in a space of learning. A weekend workshop here and there is always like a massive sort of shift. You plateau for a bit, you integrate, you learn stuff, and then you like, actually, there's a more, so oof, up you go and on to the next one. And that's you. You're the step. You're the little oop, up we go.
I'm the person you call when you start to feel that up you
Yes.
starting.
Yeah.
So and it's not just coaches and people like that, it's also conscious leaders. I've got a woman at the moment, she's a CEO, and she is currently studying with me to deliver the Freedom of Spirit Solo, which is a one-to-one energy freedom meditation based deliverable.
Mm,
And she's training to deliver that, not because she wants to become a practitioner, but because she wants to enhance her ability and capacity to encourage and facilitate her people to tune into their sovereignty,
mm,
reclaim their freedom,
mm.
express who they are.
Yeah.
And she's just flying with this. And she
Incredible.
she came last time I spoke to her, she said, Catherine, I just can't believe after these sessions, she's doing her case studies at the moment, right? Before she can be accredited. She goes, I finished these sessions with these people, and we're both as astonished as each other as to how much effect it's had. I'm not a practitioner. What's going on?
Yeah.
But she has a heart. She has a voice.
Mm.
She has an intention.
I was going to say it's the intention that she's holding that is the powerful thing, isn't it? Yeah.
That's right. And it's so beautiful. So it's kind of a mixture of people, but they're all spirit led. They've all got a really strong spiritual purpose in what they're doing,
Yeah.
And I did a little video the other day about this idea of our calling. And I was remembering years ago, must have been in my 20s or early 30s. We got hold of this idea that you needed to know what your purpose was.
Oh, yeah. It's a
You,
big thing. It's a
you've got
big
to
thing. A
know.
lot of my clients go, oh, I don't know what my purpose is. I feel purposeless. I feel, yeah.
And we were all walking up and asking our bosses or bosses' bosses, what is my purpose? And they're like, oh, well, what am I going to do with this idiot? Why do they think I know what their purpose is? So they say, okay, right now your purpose is get back on the phones and do your job.
Yes.
But we realized after a while that we were looking for something important, but we were
Mm.
not looking for it in the right way.
Yeah.
We were not looking inside. We were not doing the work.
Yeah.
So we turned it into a joke. And instead of saying, I can't find my purpose, I can't find my porpoise. So we kidded each other. You're looking for your porpoise, aren't you? And presumably everyone listening knows what a porpoise is.
Yes. Poor voice. Yes.
But we decided to, take the mickey out of ourselves a bit, take the pressure off and go, this is not something that someone else can tell you.
Mm.
This is not.
Nor is it a golden, a thing that you're going to open the chest and the gold light's going to pour out and the angels are going to start singing. Like it's not like something that you find. It's
Yeah,
a homecoming more
it's a
than
homecoming and it keeps evolving. That's the thing I've
yeah.
discovered. For
Yeah.
me, there's that keeping evolving of it,
Mm.
and you said some very kind things about my early life, about, how fortunate I was in many ways. But that didn't change the fact that I had ancestral programming, racial programming, all
Mm.
kinds of programming from media and other influences, many of which parts of me responded to through as a result of whatever wounding, whatever neediness, whatever this, that, and the other. So I still needed to work with all of those, notwithstanding.
Mm.
And one of the results of needing to work with all of those is that the relationship with purpose and calling needs to keep being refreshed,
Yeah.
because what the calling is keeps shifting in its application, like mine has in the way we've spoken today. And reaching the point of saying, it's like people say, the minute you think you're enlightened, you're not.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's the same with our calling. The minute you think, I've got it totally nailed now, it's not
Mm.
stuck, that's what
No.
you
That
know.
was just
I,
A
I'm
level.
I'm
Mm.
connected enough with it for now, and I'm
Mm.
open and learning and growing and asking questions and inquiring, and then it keeps expanding because we are, of course, limitless.
We're not boundaried by a shell of some
We're not
sort.
like a circuit board that you put in back of the computer.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's why we need to keep asking, and as you say, keep getting nourishment.
Mm.
Keep getting support to just flourish even more.
Yeah, exactly. And this is what one of the things that your kind of your mission statement, if you like, that I saw on your website, which is like and you're working towards helping people and an evolution of consciousness. And I love that because it's not just like consciousness. It's not like a destination. You just arrive, like you arrive at your Airbnb. I'm here now. I've got it. This is it. Like that's not how consciousness is. You're right. It just unfolds, and it's very beautifully represented by that crown chakra lotus, that thousand-petaled lotus that is consistent, opening into infinity. It just keeps on opening and opening and opening, and that's there's so much beautiful symbology in the chakra system, but that crown chakra has a huge I mean it's not much of a clue, it's very blatant that it is an obvious um yeah, an evolution of consciousness. And you're
Mm.
right, like I find that a lot of my clients are like feeling lost, feeling like, oh, I don't know what my purpose is, but bringing yourself back to that sense of like, actually, there is no one thing, there is no one answer to that question is very freeing. It's very freeing, isn't it? Yeah.
And also not to be constantly fixed on this idea of I've got to focus on a destination, I've got to reach a destination,
Yeah.
I've got to reach a point where I say I've done it,
Mm.
which I admit I've got that programming in me as well. I know what that feels like.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I think we all do. We think I always say it's like that analogy of like when you were at school or at university and you were doing exams and you're like, oh my God, the minute my exams are over, life is just going to be amazing. I'm going to feel free and I'm going to like I will have arrived at this destination. And you arrive at that destination, you walk out of your last exam and you just want to go to bed for a week and maybe cry. And you certainly don't feel like going out to have a massive celebration. I mean, maybe some people do, but that was never my feeling. It's like you've reached this place and now it's like, oh, I'm just tired now. It's like the destination that you think is there, that landmark that you think you're going to reach actually isn't necessarily as always satisfying. So having that openness to go, okay, well, that's just this phase over and now up to, on to the next phase. Um, I think is a really important thing to know. I think it's a really big thing to
I think so. Yeah.
yeah.
And I think we have different lessons that we're here to learn. You know, some people are here to learn the lesson of what you've just described there. I do feel some people are here to learn the lesson of be still, do the garden.
Hmm.
Be still, do the garden. Chop wood, carry water. Before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. That's that thing. And I've got great respect for everyone's calling is theirs.
Mm.
There's a lot of I didn't I had a friend, I've got a friend and we were talking about purpose. Is there such a thing as a right purpose? And we did an interview about it. I haven't come on and said, okay, let's talk about this. And we were talking about this idea of thinking, oh, is my purpose a good one? Or is that person's purpose a good one? Is it the right one for them?
Yes.
I don't know.
No.
And again, that comes from our objectivist culture and philosophy of,
Yeah.
judging something
Mhm.
rather than following an
Yeah.
energy. Completely different experience, completely different process.
Mm. Mm. Yeah. And so what in your terms of your, I mean, I'm imagining that your process is different for all of your clients, but as you guide people to understanding that there is an evolution of consciousness, what is your modality? Is it just, are you talking? Is it somatics? Is it like, what is your way, if you like? How do you work with people?
Thank you. So along the way, I also trained as a five rhythms dance teacher, and I'm also a Reiki master, and I'm also a Pelua teacher. So
Oh, what's Palua?
Pelua is an energy technique, which is it means radical shift in consciousness. It's specifically
Oh,
for the consciousness.
wow.
It's a hands
I need
off.
to know more. Need to know about that. Yeah.
It's phenomenal. Pellowa, Pellowah.
Okay.
Um, I taught it for about 6 years. Um, so in everything I'm doing, I'm using talking, somatic, meditations, energy, and often like rich pictures, free drawing, all that kind of thing, and movement. So broadly speaking, there are two paths that people can choose from, and sometimes they'll move between the two paths when they're working with me. One path is the dedicated one-to-one coaching program. They can come to me, they can do it online, they can do it online most of the time and come up for me in the summer, whatever they want to do. The other path is the freedom of spirit path, which is my own specific modality that I've developed, or that has developed itself through me, let's say.
Yeah.
And that involves attending a very intensive weekend workshop, then a accredited training to deliver the one-to-one piece, and for some people, then an accredited training to deliver the workshop. So some people respond very well to a designed modality that they
Yeah.
can participate in and learn how to deliver. Some people are much more drawn to, no, it's just you and me. We're evolving this as we go.
Yeah.
And,
So
and
if I
some
was to come
people,
to one of your Freedom of Spirit weekends, could I just come just for the experience, just for myself, just to learn? Or is it specifically so that you can then go away and teach it to other people? And what is on that? What are we doing? Are we dancing? Are we talking? Are we doing everything? I mean, I've been on some wonderful retreats that are undefinable. And so I get it if it's really hard. And also, there's a lot of modalities and things that you do on these weekends that you don't want to share because, like being thrown in the deep end is kind of part of the process. So what are those workshops sort of yeah, are they just for can they be just for personal growth or are they for a training purpose?
they're open. So someone can come and do just that.
Mm,
Or they can come and do it as the first step on that path.
right.
Or they can come along not quite knowing why they're there,
Mm,
which is
hmm.
fairly common.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and the same, I do actually deliver the little one-to-one Freedom Spirit solo as well, where the same applies. So, but the workshop is a prerequisite for level 2, the
yeah,
practitioner, and
yeah,
so on from
yeah, yeah.
there. Um, it took me 5 months to design this workshop. And if I tell you that normally for me to design a weekend workshop will take me a couple of hours,
Mm,
this took 5 months because I wanted to find an experience for people that would really help them reclaim that inner spirit, which I believe we all already have inherently.
mm, yeah.
And I couldn't give them X number of decades of what I've been through. And I wasn't going to use psychedelics either.
No.
So I wanted something, that would actually do the job over a weekend.
Yeah.
So I'm doing it through a combination of mechanisms. One mechanism is cycling between different modalities. So cycling between reflection, talking, moving, drawing, meditating, and cycling and cycling and cycling. What this does is it addresses the nervous system in multiple different ways, which is A, very nourishing, and B, very opening and very pleasant, very enjoyable.
Mm,
So what it does is it helps us get more and more in touch with ourselves in a way that we enjoy, to discover what's already there.
yeah.
Then there's, against that backdrop, there's a progression of phases. So the first phase is where we acknowledge that in the past, we may have partially suppressed our own freedom of spirit.
Oh dear. Oh dear. Yes, we might.
Second idea is that's fine. We don't have to fix it. We don't have to beat ourselves up for that. We don't have to become overly serious. It's possibly the most difficult part of the workshop, letting go of beating ourselves up for that.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Let go, because guess what? Beating yourself up is anti-freedom. Being over serious is anti-freedom. So the rest of the
Mm,
workshop, which is most of it, we're now we are now being free while we are investigating being free at the same time.
Right.
We then go into an extended period of beautiful meditations and movement, which are incredibly liberating. They're basically, someone told me they're basically quantum inner work
Yeah.
to reconnect fully with that inner freedom spirit. What we then do is a completely mad series of mind games where we take back our power by repeatedly telling the truth about things to ourselves.
Okay.
No one has to, there's no confessionals. You don't have to share anything on this weekend, but also retraining the mind to help us liberate ourselves. If you like, reversing some of the patterns and circuits that keep us trapped through these, say myself, cleverly designed games,
Okay.
which are completely mad.
That sounds so much fun.
It is so
Oh,
much fun.
it
And that's
sounds
just day one.
amazing.
And
Wow.
day two is all about embodying it, connecting with the true voice of the spirit, finding out what it wants to say, and then integrating it through every layer of our lives. And then we go inside and find our own anchors and activators that we take away to help keep ourselves on track. So that's a weekend. It's very intense.
Yeah.
A lot of shifts happen on the weekend, a lot of shifts happen after the weekend. And there's a big, thick workbook, which the back half of which is all the stuff you can go away and keep working on if you want to. So I wanted it to be something that would work for someone who's never done this sort of work, which it does,
Mm.
for someone who's been doing it for decades, which it does. Because I've
Yeah.
had people from both, and it doesn't matter because
Yeah.
the work you're doing is meeting you where you are, and you're responding from where you are because you're not being taught anything. So
Yeah.
it's which is beautiful. You know, there's a 73-year-old bloke and a 24-year-old woman, and they're
Mm.
both getting a similar degree of beautiful, incredible experience.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm very pleased with it. So it's a great experience.
It does sound absolutely phenomenal. And for people, for when you want to sort of take a step and keep that work going within yourself. I mean, I've been on weekends where it's like, intense. It's like 2.5 days or whatever, and you come out completely changed, completely different. It is possible when the space is held by somebody who really knows how to hold space with absolute love and like zero judgment and all of that. It is an incredibly healing thing to do to put yourself into that space. So you can offer that, obviously you offer that in the UK. And a lot of my listeners are in America. So you're also said that you were able to do this online. Was that or
Yes, they can do not a weekend online
no?
because I want to be physically in the room with you when we're doing it.
Right.
But they can do Freedom of Spirit Solo, which is a series of one-to-one sessions that
Okay.
incorporate a lot the same essential energetic components
Yeah.
with contemplation and assignments in between. And that's very powerful as well, but in a different way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do that online.
I mean, working online is incredibly effective, but it's a very different thing to being in a room with a whole lot of other people. Essentially, most will be strangers and a leader. That's a very different energy completely.
Mm.
Yeah. And your work, so that, I mean, that sounds like a huge, big part of your work. That, yeah, right, very rightly. So how often, you're proud of, how often do you run these workshops?
I run the level one foundation workshop that we've been talking about 3 times a year.
Right.
I keep the groups quite small, no more than
Yeah.
8 people.
Oh, wow.
But otherwise, because the energy in the room is just, um, I use a nice big space for it,
Mm,
but I want everyone to be safe.
yeah.
So I keep it like that.
Yeah.
But then in between those, I'm running level two programs with
Mm,
people. I haven't started a level three program yet, but I'll be doing those in between as well.
okay. So I want to just return to one thing you said. So five rhythms dance. Talk to me a little bit about that because again, I have experienced myself the power of how incredibly important it is to do somatic work whilst you're doing this sort of spiritual, deep, conscious, subconscious work. It's so important that the body gets involved and is allowed to be free and express itself, and whatever wants to happen needs to happen, wants to be able to let itself out. So talk to me a little bit about what five rhythms dance is, because again, this is something in the same way that the Palawa, I'd not heard of that. I have heard of five rhythms dance, but I don't know much about it. So tell me a little bit about that.
Fair enough. So there are now many, many thousands of people dancing the five rhythms and teaching the five rhythms all over the world.
Yeah.
It was developed originally by a woman called Gabrielle Roth, who um, had had a very bad injury. She loved dancing. She had a very bad injury, and she was told she was never going to dance again.
Hmm.
She went that, and she went and danced and danced and danced and healed her injury.
Oh, wow.
She was dancing very, very consciously. She then, I don't know how this happened, was asked to start working with elderly groups of people, many of whom were medicated, to just get them moving.
Yeah.
And no one else could get them moving. Now, she somehow got them moving, and she noticed two things. One was through them moving, their conditions started to improve
Hmm.
in a way where you couldn't, there's no straight line between them. The other thing she noticed was that there was a kind of a shape to the movement that happened, which she called the wave. And what this was they would start slow, start to pick up and get a bit more specific in the movement.
Hmm.
That would start to peak into a more full on let go kind of thing, which would then, after a while, kind of peak and then lead to a kind of a lightness, sense of freedom and lightness and space,
Yeah.
which would then naturally come back to stillness. So it was called the Wave for years
Yeah.
and years and years. And she was having hundreds of people. She started running these groups, and she was a very charismatic woman. Um, Jewish New Yorker, thin as a rake, dressed in black, very
Yeah.
cool, beautiful, you know. And all these people were coming to fabulous dancer, dance like an angel. Hundreds and hundreds of people. And this went on for years and years. And then a couple of her people who were now assisting her said, "You've got to teach this to other teachers.
Mm.
You can't just teach the wave. You can't teach the wave. You've got to
Yeah.
break it down and teach them the components of it." And that gave birth to the five rhythms, which are flowing, staccato, chaos, lyrical, and stillness. So
Lovely. Yeah.
she then started teaching these groups of teachers. And some people tried to map this on the grief cycle. It doesn't
Interesting.
match onto the grief cycle. Just for
Okay.
anyone who's trying to, I had someone spend ages on PowerPoint trying to show me how it mapped on. It does not map on. It's a creative cycle. It's not a
Yeah.
release and healing cycle. It's a creative cycle.
Okay.
So it kind of parallels the cycle of creativity. If you think about, I'm going to create a podcast. I'm kind of feeling my way into it. Right, I'm getting clear now. What am I going to call it? Where I'm going to host it? Oh my God, now I'm talking to all these guests and people are letting me down and this is working, that's not working. Oh my God. Oh, it's real. I'm really enjoying it. People are loving it. Ah,
Yeah.
that's a creative cycle.
Yes. Yes.
So it maps that.
Mm, mm.
Now, if someone dances that over and over again, it helps to heal imbalances where you're overdoing one of those rhythms in your life.
Mm, mm.
It it's very purifying, it's very healing, it's very releasing, and because you're just moving, you don't have to talk. You can move much faster through the experience or through the alchemy of what's happening within you. You don't
Yeah.
have
And
to keep
also the
stopping.
brain is getting bypassed. You're not having to verbalize and explain and rationalize and yeah, yeah.
And so much of what we need to process and what we need to express is in the body.
Mm, yes.
And so it gives it a channel for that,
Yeah.
which is it's a beautiful, beautiful modality.
Yeah. Fascinating. And so that presumably is one of the things that you use in your Freedom Spirit weekends, right?
Well, Many five rhythms teachers, after they've taught it for quite some time, evolve their own approach, which I've done,
Right. Yeah.
which is a lot less structured.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be able to do that if I hadn't learned it's like the
Yeah.
best jazz musicians could not do that completely free
No.
flow stuff if they hadn't spent years learning the techniques.
Yeah.
It's
Learning the
like,
formats. Yeah.
if
Yeah.
you watched, if you were on the workshop, you wouldn't necessarily realize I trained in five rhythms or Pellowa or anything else
Yeah.
because it's all very intuitive now in terms of how it flows.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it does sound yeah, it sounds incredible. And I'm fascinated by that. So Catherine, I've had you for nearly an hour already, I think. I don't know where the time's gone.
I
Time and
know.
space is doing weird things. I don't know. I'm blaming the weather. But what else is coming up for you? What else do you want to tell the people? What is hot for you right now? What is sort of bubbling for you at the moment?
Apart from the summer, which has suddenly decided to come with no warning at all.
Yeah,
So
just
I just
arrived.
want to say to all the listeners, sleeveless tops, water sprays, spray everything with water. No, what kind of thing am I looking for here? The thing I really feel I want to say to people is trust your own energy, follow your energy. So, for example, people listening to this, if your energy is responding to me, get in touch.
Mm,
Don't second guess yourself. If it's not, don't try and force yourself to find out more about it because you think it might be good for you.
mm,
You know, or if something is drawing you or something interesting you, follow it because that is your soul, that's your spirit calling you.
yeah. It's really good advice because we second guess our intuition and our inner voice that calls out for something, and we go, oh no, that can't be right. I can't be doing that or thinking that, or I can't afford the other, or like whatever it is, excuses we can come up with. So yeah, that's beautiful advice, Catherine. Thank you. And tell people how, if they are called to get in touch with you, and I would be amazed if they don't. Um, how can they reach you? What's your contacts, your website and so on?
Okay, so the easiest and quickest way to contact me is to get on WhatsApp and contact me on UK number 07770 267 230 to anyone, whatever your reason is.
Mm,
I received a message the other day from someone I'd never heard of in Australia who wants to make a film about exegesis, which was this weekend I did, and God knows
mm,
how long ago. Would I talk to her? Sure.
mm. Yeah.
So that's the easiest and quickest way. Most people don't necessarily want to do that, particularly if they're British. It's not a very British thing to do. But
No, I agree with you. I love that. I mean, the ease with which we can communicate now, and WhatsApp makes global communication so easy that you can just message somebody and have a conversation. Yeah,
what's the
it's
worst that's going to happen?
mm,
So, my website is beingspace.world
that's
and my podcast website is truthandtranscendence.com.
okay. Wonderful. Thank you, Catherine. It's been absolutely fascinating. I've loved this, and thank you so much.
My complete pleasure. Thank you for the journey down memory lane.